to get the big stuff. You know, the little things, the things that your belief factor, meaning the desires that you're more likely to believe in, meaning more of the thoughts that you spend thinking about pertaining to this subject are more allowing and more harmonious with the desire, then those desires, they come to you. And you know that because when a desire that you kind of want and you kind of really don't doubt, then it comes to you relatively really quick. In fact, you're almost not looking for it. In fact, you almost don't care about these small little desires. But once you can make the small things come, you can make the big things come. Because when we're talking about law of attraction, we're not talking about the size of your manifestation. Because when you call a manifestation big, you mean it's out of reach. You mean it takes something really special. But we're telling you, everyone got everything. All the masters of your planet, they all just utilize the laws of the universe. They all just ask different. They all put, as a result of them living their lives, they put different things in their vortex. So when we're talking about big desires, what we're really talking about is about something that you really, 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 really want. And when something that you really, really want is put into your vortex, when it's focused on, there's a massive focus. That's why the big things are actually the most easiest things for you to manifest. They're the fastest because there's so much focus. There's so much momentum on all of these subjects. That's why when you don't believe in your dreams, it hurts a lot, because when you catch wind of the opposite or when you contradict that energy flow, it doesn't feel very good. You see, when you want something really big, you're usually checking your reality for it. You're usually taking score of it. You're usually really aware of where you stand in relationship to your desire. And that's good because you continue to put more things in your vortex. You continue to allow that manifestation to grow. But we think that you can get out of the state where you're always in that step one, that contrast mode. You can be in this place of step three where you're really allowing, where you're spending more of your time receiving. Because you know what? When there's a desire that you really, really want, you're really, really looking for the results of it, and you're really, really aware of where you are in relation to your desires. So the thing is, the only thing that slows your manifestations down, because we just established when there's a big desire, there's this big asking, because the problem and the solution are always equal in like velocity and weight, in their bigness, in their size. So if the problem is small, then the solution is small. But if the problem is big, then the solution is just as big. That's what we're saying. Those careers, those books that you want to write, that fame that you've been looking for, all those things, they're in the vortex. They're there and they're gestating and they're ready for you, and they're getting ready for you to be ready for it. It's not interesting because you're the one who has to get ready for this whole equation, because you have to be a cooperative component. In reality, the thing is, reality, this physical reality, this time and space, it plays a bigger role in everyone's vibration than anyone cares to admit, because most of the vibration that you're offering, most of the time that you're spent in your day thinking, is all because you're observing reality. Is all coming in your focus, and you're observing of the reality in front of you. You're categorizing, you're thinking about it, you're considering it. Because when the rocket is launched from you, when you want more money, you're immediately going to look into your bank account. You're going to think about your bank account. But that's not where things get wonky, because the thing is, the reality is not bad inherently, because you came with the understanding that there would be this reality. In fact, you were excited for reality because you knew that this reality, this time and space, this physical reality, the manifestation right now that you would be beholding would be the old reality. Yes, the manifestation that you're now looking at right now, that you're observing, is already the past. It's because your inner being is not in this reality. Your inner being is in the vortex. This is a conversation about who you really are. When you came into this body, when you came into this experience, you knew that there would be a reality, but you just understood that when you want something, the absence of it wouldn't bother you, because in the absence of it, you could just ignore it. The absence wouldn't really bother you. But yet here you are, and you're older, and you've been here a lot longer, and you're a lot more seasoned, and not in the good ways, because, well, the thing is, you can't get it wrong. You just can't get it wrong. But you can you can learn things that you have to unlearn, that thwart your natural connection to energy, that allow you to have these beliefs. And all a belief is just a thought that you continue to think. And you know why it's easier and easier for you to think that thought? Because law of attraction helps you. So this is the thing. There's a reality, and you can't help but notice it. But when you came into this body, you knew that the reality wouldn't bother you. But yet you're here and reality bothers you, because it's your understanding of reality. Because when you look at the absence of what you want, the first thing that you do is you try to justify, you try to explain, you try to look for the deeper meaning. You're so obsessed as a race of, looking for the deeper meanings. But there's nothing more deeper than understanding that your point of attraction, and whatever you vibrate is whatever you're getting back in return. So that's as deep as it gets. It's all a law of attraction, law-based understanding sort of a thing. And yet it's the stories, it's the justification that you give to all these physical events that really are so far off from what they really are. And what we mean by that is, when you want money, right? Imagine you're like, you need money like yesterday. You need it, right? And whenever you check your bank account, whenever you think about the current condition of your bank account, it isn't you think about it, it's there. And that's the thing, is that when you came into this body, you understood that there would be a reality, but it would be like a ball that you just threw against the wall and you would catch it. It's like you would bounce, you would take the bounce of that reality, you would take the bounce, you would, but okay, every time you thought about your bank account, then there'd be another more money. But instead of going with the more money, and what does that really mean? Well, what we really mean to say is, instead of talking about the money, you're talking about the absence of money and you're justifying it. You're trying to figure it out. You're like, okay, so this is how it goes. For example, so imagine that you're thinking about the money in your bank account right now, and that in itself is not like it's neutral, but it's a reality. It's, you're observing it. But it's not until you start to justify, drill it, probe into it, that you get wonky in your vibration, because this is how it goes. You think, okay, like the money's still not my bank account. And there's that human thing. If I don't see it today, if I don't see it right now, then it's not coming. It's definitely not coming. And we're saying the reason why you're not seeing it is because you're not achieving the vibrational harmony with it. So the fact that it's not here, it's just telling you, it's just giving you vibrational feedback that you could do a better job tuning. It's not a personal thing, because when something is absent, you're right. Anyone would agree with you. You're right to call it absent. We're saying it's in a state of becoming. You're looking in the wrong place for it. You have to feel forward for it. You have to feel forward for it, because you know why? It's vibrational. It's not physical right now. But we already established, we already know you can be okay with the vibrational version, because it's not the physical thing. We're not making it out to be the physical thing. We're saying that the emotion is what you're really looking for, and the emotion can be just as fun as actually having the physical manifestation. And this is the thing that's really interesting, because when you have the emotion of it, then the absence of it doesn't bother you. But the reason why the absence bothers you is because that's the thing. You're so good at being observational. You're so good at being objective. You want to be objective. Because there's that piece of you that's like, what if I waste my time dreaming? What if I don't actually get there and I just wasted all my time? And we're saying there's nothing like that, because it's that even type of thinking that actually allows you to always stand in that same position where you're having that thought, where you're looking at your life and you're like, I'm doing everything that I can, but there's nothing that's working for me. It's that observation. Because when you look at that absence, because this is how it goes, right? So imagine you're like, okay, like for 2 days I've been in the vortex and I haven't seen any money, and you just come to that awareness. You think about your bank account, you're like, I haven't seen any money. So then you're like, well, there's two ways it can go. The first way is, if you're objective, if you're someone who's really been trained by other humans, because you want to look smart in front of them, you want to be realistic in front of them, you want to be a genius, you want to be part of their ranks. So, you know, you're like, okay, like it's been 2 days and I've been in the vortex and I haven't had any money. So the first opinion that you could have is, that must mean the money's not coming. That must mean I'm doing something wrong. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong, because I thought I was in the vortex. So I must either not be in the vortex, or I must not know what I'm doing. And I don't really know how to do anything different. So I'm basically screwed. I don't know what to do. I'm trapped. I'm disempowered. And I must be doing something wrong. And that's the thing. You're not doing anything wrong, because instead of taking the bounce of reality, you're explaining why it is that way. You're explaining why you don't want what you don't want. You're explaining it. You're talking about like, the money's not here. That probably means it's not coming. Instead of being like, yes, it's been 2 days since I've been in the vortex and I still haven't seen any money, so I'm more excited to see the money now. The money's gonna be really great, because that feels not childish, but that feels like a dreamer. That feels like a pipe dream. But yet that's what you have to do. You have to stop being observational. You have to stop looking at reality and probing into the motive, because reality, like I said, reality isn't bad. So when you look at reality, you don't really feel negative emotion. That's not until you start to give motive, you start to explain it, you start to come up with these false things. Any thought that you think that goes in opposition to your desire, any thought that doesn't feel good, any thought that when you think you feel negative emotion is bogus. It doesn't matter what it is. But someone would say, well, it's real. Well, it's real, because when I look at my bank account right now, the money's not there. When I look at this, when I look at the quality of my book, when I look at the product, when I look at this, it's not there. So what do you want me to do? And we're saying, we're not telling you to ignore reality. We're just telling you this reality doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. And the reason why it doesn't mean anything is because it's like the old reality. It's done. The reality that you're now looking at right now is already old, because who you really are is this vibrational version. Who you really are is in this vortex, and everything that you want is in the vortex. The version of everything that you want, you put a version of everything that you want already in this vortex, and it's spinning and it's gathering cooperative components. And your job is to be the transmitter and receiver of the vortex. So and the thing about the vortex is that that's who you really are. The vortex is what your emotions are really about. Because here's the thing, it doesn't matter if it's real. If it's real and you're giving your focus to it, you're giving your attention to that reality just because it's real, then that means that you're not going to have any control over your vibration. That means that you're just going to focus on whatever comes to you, and if something comes to you, that's great. But if it doesn't, then you're basically screwed. You don't have power over your vibration. You have to be discriminatory. You have to understand that it's not about what's real, because you can still focus on what's real and what's right. And that's the thing about what is. You can focus on what's right and what's real and still be at crossways with your own source energy, because source doesn't care about what's right. Source just cares about the new expanded version of you. Source cares about the money that you just put in the vortex. Source doesn't care that you haven't seen any of your money for the past 2 days. Source doesn't care. Source doesn't probe, investigate, because source never looks back. Ooh, that's a difference between you and source. You look back, and source never looks back. Even when you leave your body, you never look back. So The way this goes is that it's like a tug of war in you. You want it, but it didn't come yesterday. So you're almost afraid to want it. You're almost afraid to think about it because you daydream, and then you're aware of the opposite of it. Your awareness of the opposite of it is killing your dream. It's killing the momentum of it. And then when your awareness is on the opposite of it, you start to come up with the reasons. You're like, oh, so this doesn't come to me. So this must mean it's not coming to me. So that means if I don't see the money today, that means it's probably never going to come. And we're saying that that's really weird. That's such an interesting thing to say, because when you say things like it's probably never going to come, who is deciding that? Because you're the creator of your reality. There's no assertion. So that means that there's no one who's judging your worthiness. It's just your ability to receive it or not. So the thing is, if you're not receiving it, then that's all that means. There's nothing that you can't get it wrong. You cannot get it wrong, because it's either you manifest something or you put more in the vortex, right? So there's really nothing that you can do wrong. That's the thing about the tug of war that you're playing with your inner being. You know what happens? Like the tug of war, Source will never lose. Source will always win, because Source is more powerful than you, in the sense where Source is more focused, is more non-resistant, it's wiser, it knows what it's doing. But you can torture yourself. You can spend the remainder of your time in this body, and this physical time and space, focused through the lens of this view that you know as you, this personality, and you could torture yourself. You can spend all this time torturing yourself because you want things that and it's not that you don't believe them, is that you're not practicing dots that put you in harmony with your desire, because you know what, you haven't seen it in X amount of years. You've been wanting this thing for so many years, and it's time for you to get realistic. And we're saying there's no space for being realistic, because anything that even being realistic is you focusing on something and manifesting it. And sometimes when you're realistic, there are things that are more attainable. We're not here to talk about dreams that are attainable. We're here to talk about there's a dream and it's big in size, because at first it feels big, but what we're really saying is that desire is not going to get any smaller. It's going to get bigger in its focus, in its non-physical focus. So what that means is when you're contradicting that energy, you're really going to feel it. You're going to get sensitive, because you understand all this. You're going to feel your connection, your resonance with source energy. So you can't back down from your desires. You have to demand your ability to focus, because there's nothing lazy about focusing. And yet we're telling you to be irresponsible. We're telling you to look at reality and truly give this a comparative experience. Meaning, if there's a stick and on either end, it's like, should I be realistic or should I be a dreamer? Give it a shot. Give the vortex a real shot. In the way that you do that, and we'll sum it up for you so that you can understand it in a way that you'll never forget. Reality is reality, and the reality that you're looking at is always old. Who you are, you're always one step ahead of reality, because you're really source energy. You are source energy, and that's the thing. If you didn't have a vortex that your emotions were tied to, then we could talk all day about what was real, because ultimately that's fun. Talking about what's real, what's in front of you is fun, but it's not fun. Being right is not better than being happy. You want to be happy, and it doesn't matter if you're right, because when you're in this for being right, then what you really want is people to see you in a certain way. You want to control how they see you, but really for what type of response we couldn't even imagine, because your inner being loves you unconditionally. Your inner being never could see you in a bad way. So your inner being, who your emotional guide system is about, who holds everything that you want, who is the liver of everything that you want, who knows how to get you everywhere, who knows where you are, and who knows how to guide you around all of your resistance and take you exactly to where you want to go. 15 viable pathways right now that are viable right now. Your inner being is the only one. It always has your back. It always sees the best version of you. And it's not because that's who Source is. It's because Source ignores the bad stuff. Source literally looks the other way, and it's time for you to do that, because you think that if I don't ignore the bad stuff, if I don't ignore the fact that I've been dreaming about this for 2 years and nothing has been coming, if I don't address that, then I'm bound to experience it more. And we're saying it's the opposite. So we're saying ditch your responsibility, ditch the objectivity, be less objective and more of a dreamer. And the way that you really do that is by when you look at reality and you feel those conclusions, those justifications coming up, meaning, oh, I still don't see the money, so it's probably not going to come. Oh, I still don't see those views, that must mean they're never going to come. You put them to rest. You say, leave me alone. Not leave me alone, but saying, doesn't matter. We want you to practice that. That's your new mantra. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And in time, all of those, not leave me alone, but all those thoughts will leave me alone. And the best way to say that is, doesn't matter, because now you understand that this reality is old, and that when the thought feels negative, it's bogus. It's just a bogus thought. And the reason why it's bogus is because you're looking at the past where your power isn't. You're looking at the past where you have no control. And as you look at the past, you want to relitigate it. You want to talk about it. You want to understand it. You want to probe it. You want to justify it. And we're saying, why when all your power is right here? Your inner being is right here with you. So keep dreaming. Enjoy your daydream, and just don't kill it. Don't have that awareness so much. And you can't, because there's always going to be a reality. So a better way to say that, a more updated way of saying that, is don't justify reality. Don't justify why it didn't happen, and just go with the rocket, go with the flow. There is this steady river taking you. There's a stream taking you. You have to accept that. You have to accept that there's no effort required because you have already done all the work. All the work has already been, all the parts have already been assembled. Everything is ready for your taking. So there, and you don't even have to get the momentum going. The momentum has already been going because of your inner being's focus, your inner being's non-resistant focus, non-diluted focus. So this stream is going. So your job is to just understand that there's a stream and that you're going on it, and that every time you feel negative, every time that you try to look back and try to probe into it and try to justify it, you're going against the flow. And as you let go of that, as you're like, you know what, the fact that the money didn't come today, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's still gonna come. Oh, but it didn't come yesterday. I thought the same thing yesterday, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this is a new moment. Now I understand what I'm doing. Now I can catch myself red-handed when I'm justifying reality and coming to conclusions and being objective. I don't need to do that anymore because I'm going to give this vortex a real comparative experience. I'm going to really give it all. I'm going to ignore reality because you got to ignore reality. That's the thing about getting the big things that you've been wanting. You have to ignore reality because when you really want something, you can't help but notice the fact that it's not here yet. But it's fine to notice that it's not here yet, but don't talk about it. Or a better way of saying that is don't feel that the thoughts that receiving what will give you has any truth to it, meaning you don't need to think about it because it's all about caring about how you feel. And as you care about how you feel, you can carve these thought pathways. You are more of a match to who you really are. And as you're more of a steady match to who you really are, the life that you begin to live, the results that people see, have them wondering what you're up to. But do you know that the ones who are the most irresponsible, the ones that don't look at reality and don't weigh the pros and cons and are not objective, who don't think opposition to their desires, who believe, who are very irresponsible, they're the masters. They're the masters of your planet, and in whatever form and whatever, area of their expertise, they were masters because they were responsible. They spend more of their time dreaming, and they didn't care about the setbacks because they understood that their desire was bigger than everything, because they could feel the presence. So you can feel your desire, and as you feel the presence of it, let that be your not your guiding light, but let that be what you're really looking for. Let that be your confidence. Let that be what your steadiness and your security, that emotional manifestation. Because yes, the manifestation is emotion. You have a version of your desire right now that you have access to and that you're practicing and that you can feel. And that desire is worth enough that when you look at the absence of what you want, you don't litigate it. You don't justify it because you're like, I have the version of it that I want. And it's fine if I didn't get it all this time. It's fine because you know what? It doesn't matter.